In college algebra, we wrapped up basics of functions. We did this on Tuesday, and today, Wednesday, we went over 5, 6, and 7. Primarily domain and range is what we talked about, because it can be pretty tricky when you're looking at a graph. One thing I try and tell students to do is when they're trying to determine domain, you read it left to right, and only refer to numbers on the x-axis. And that's for domain. For the range, it's just the opposite. Read it bottom to top. And only refer to numbers on the y-axis. So on number 5, I'm going to scan that graph left to right, and whenever I look at those arrows, that tells me that, like, anytime an arrow is drawn, that means it's going forever in that direction. So while it is pointed down, it's also slightly left, and it's also slightly right. So if I'm scanning this thing left to right, I would say it's going forever to the left and forever to the right. So it's negative infinity to positive infinity, which is all real numbers. That's a real common answer for domain of a graph. I mean, sometimes it's different. On number 7, it'll be different, but if you ever see it's going forever in the left direction and forever in the right direction, it's all real numbers. For range, we want to go from bottom to top. And there's no bottom to this graph because it's going forever to negative infinity. Like there's no end to it. But it does have a stopping point as we scan up. So as I scan up, I'm looking at the y-axis, so follow the purple line. It's increasing, 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 and it stops right there. Maybe I shouldn't be using purple. But it stops right there, and the answer for that is 4. Use a bracket because at 4 there's a solid dot, and anytime you have an infinity symbol, you use a parenthesis. You're also able to write this thing like this. I prefer the with the parenthesis in the bracket because it's less to write, but or actually you can write that like that too, and that's your range. X-intercept, where it crosses the x-axis. So it crosses right there and right there. So let's say -3, 0, and 1, 0. Let's color code this thing. It crosses the y-axis right there at the blue spot. So the y-intercept is 0, 3. At f of -2, you were trying to find how tall the graph is at that point. How tall the graph is at x equals -2. So you find -2 on the x-axis. So my eyes are first right here, where the green dot is, and then go to the graph. So this spot right here, That's 3 units high, so the answer is 3. For the next one, f of 2, I go to 2 on the x-axis, right there. Go to the graph. Be careful, look for where it crosses exactly at a cross point. So that's like right there. It almost hits -4, but it hits -5 perfectly. All right. All right, let's try some more. So on number 6, I'm going to scan it left to right, and it looks like it goes forever left, forever right. This is all real numbers. Someone asked me, can you write negative infinity to positive infinity? And sure, you could write that. No problem. Range, we are scanning it bottom to top. I'm only looking at y values at the y-axis. So this is the starting point where you see that purple dash. Let's get a brighter color. Let's do a blue maybe. Does that show up a little more? So that's the starting point on the y-axis. And this thing just goes forever up. So we want to say 0 to infinity. Whoops, and let's make that first parenthesis a bracket, because it actually hits the 0 spot. You're welcome to write it like this if you want. All right, the x-intercept, I kind of marked over it. That is this spot right here. It's green now. That's at -1. The y-intercept, I also wrote over that. That's the orange spot. So that's 0, 1. And then f of 2. So I find 2 on the x-axis, and I go up to the graph. I'm running out of colors. Let's use black. So find 2 on the x-axis, go up to the graph, and we are looking at that black dot right there. So it is 3 units high. F of -5, I'm out of colors. There's just no more colors. Let's go purple. Let's use purple. I didn't really use that except for that answer. So f of -5 right there, that's 4 units high. Let's try another one. Number 7, little harder with domain. Scan it left to right. So I see the graph starting right here. I keep using purple. Let's go back to the bright blue. So that's the left starting point of the graph, -6. So mark that down. And I scan it right. Watch the blue line. It's going, it's going, it's going, and the graph ends right there. So that's at 0. Now we have something new. We have an open circle. That just means -6 is not included, so use a parenthesis. At 0, it's solid. There's no open circle, so let's use a bracket. You're welcome to write it like this if you want. The range, I'm going bottom to top. So I start at the very bottom of the graph at -3. And I'm going to go up as far as the graph goes, which is right there at 4. So -3 to 4. At -3, it's solid. I covered it up, but it was solid. So a bracket. And at 4, I have an open dot over here. So it never actually gets to 4. So I'm going to use a parenthesis. And you're welcome to write this one like this. All right, we're getting a messy looking graph. X-intercept is right here, the blue dot, -4, 0. The y-intercept I really covered up. That is at -3. And f of -4, I already made a dot on it, because you go to -4 on the x-axis, and that's the x-intercept, because that's where the graph crosses it. So it is 0. All right, I hope that made sense. See y'all later.